Alafia. I'm Dr. Gloria Lattimore Peace, host and producer of OmniU Presents the H3O Art of Life show. The title of this show is Sisters at Work, and I have with me two lovely sisters who are representing their organizations. This is Taliva Tillman, who is president of the Chicago Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and Vicki Hill Brooks, who is president of the Lakeshore Chapter of the Links Incorporated. And I now am through with that part of it and being so formal. I want to greet you, sisters, because you do some mighty work. And I know about your work because I've been around you doing some of that work. I'll start with Taliva because I want to talk about this annual art show that you have that I love the last few times you've had it at the Parkway. What was the ballroom? Are they still calling it the ballroom?
Yes, they still
okay.
calling it Parkway
On the
Ballroom.
south side of Chicago.
Right.
So who coordinates that, and why is that an annual thing? Because that's something that I know that you do annually.
Yes, my co-chairs Linda Murray and Pamela Ham. They have been co-chairs of Arts and Letters for years.
Okay.
And each year they do a phenomenal job, and this was our 10th year. And so this year it just evolved into it was just phenomenal. I'm sorry, I'm just so excited about that. But this year we had artists, we had over 30 artists participating. We wanted to expose the public to African American art. We just believe in culture. And so that is just something that Linda and Pamela are very, very passionate about. So they've just taken it to a whole new level over these years. So it was a wonderful anniversary celebration. And this year we were fortunate enough to have sponsorship by State Farm. And so that was a first for Chicago alum.
Very good. And of course I know, Vicki, that you had the Links just had their Mardi Gras celebration. And is that something you do annually, or you do a different kind of event every year?
Well, periodically we wander to a different kind of event, but for the most part, the Mardi Gras is our signature event. And it's our primary source of funding for our programs comes from this event every year.
Okay, who are your co-chairs for that?
This year our co-chairs were Sean Peebles and Gail Foster Farley, and they did a fabulous job. You know, everybody knows we have a fabulous party, but we actually also raise money at these parties.
I have never seen so many people in one place, and in these two places. I mean, it was almost, you know, shoulder to shoulder at the art show, and there were I didn't see an empty seat at your event.
Well, we've been fortunate.
How are you fortunate enough to get people to participate in your events?
Well, each of our members brings their friends, their families, and some of our supporters have been coming year after year and look forward to it. Some of them ask us when the event's going to be before we even send the invitations out. So we've been fortunate enough to build a base of support over the years.
Well, one of the things that I will hope to do with this show is to make the case that these organizations are social service organizations in the main, that they are not simply a group of women who gather together to be socialites, you know, that you're not just trying to entertain yourselves and dress up, even though you do entertain yourselves and dress up, but that you have a greater vision, that your vision is to be of service to the communities. And so I know that you have a lot of programs, so I want you to talk about your programs. Taliva, you want to start with how long, what's the oldest program or the longest, the what? Go where you need to go with that.
Okay. We have a 5-point programmatic thrust, and we have physical and mental health, we have international involvement and awareness, we have educational development, we have, as you have to name them, you almost want to forget one.
Well, let's talk about those three while the other two come up.
But our Educational Development Committee, we have a focus on mentoring. We have a girls mentoring program for elementary school girls from grades 5 through 8. And we meet with them twice a month, and we do different workshops with them. science, math, and technology. We do that component with those girls. We have a high school mentoring group, freshmen through seniors and high school girls. And this year, over the last 2-3 years, we've implemented a male mentoring program called Embody. And that is for the high school males. And so what we have done is reached out, because we know to help educate our males, we need men to help us. So we have reached out to the community at large. So we have mentors that come and work with the boys. And so we do field trips with them, workshops, and just to enhance their academic achievement, because as you know, our males are in crisis. So we're very proud of our educational development program.
Didn't you also have a component where you were teaching adults who were not reading how to read?
Yes, we have an adult literacy program, and also a component of computer technology with that. And so that meets from our program house on 45th and King Drive. But for the last year, we've been under renovation, so we have been operating at different sites in the city of Chicago. And that program is very beneficial. We have seen the growth of all of the individuals that have participated in our program. And Olivia Amos and Kristen Perkins and Joyce Bowles, they run that program, and they do a fabulous job. We have a state grant to help fund that program.
You know, I was once, I'm a teacher retired, and at one point I was working with the Board of Education was working actually with the Department of Public Aid. And so one of the requirements of getting public assistance was that people had to come back to school. And one of the things that I noted was that the older people who were coming into those classes were so eager. They were they felt that they had gotten another opportunity. People would tell me that they'd only gone as far as the 3rd grade or what have you, and they were so eager to learn. They felt that they were so blessed to have this opportunity to finally to be able to learn how to do something that they had wanted to learn to do. And I'm sure that there must be a lot of gratification with the mentoring programs, especially with those adults who seek to improve their skills.
Yes, and they work so very hard, and at the end of the year we have a celebration each year, and they bring their family and friends, and many of them write original pieces, and they present what they have written. And if you could just see the look on the faces of their families, how proud they are. And then when they get up, and it's just the self-gratification that they received in participating in the program, and they come back, and it's just phenomenal what our adult literacy program does.
Well, I'm proud of that, because I had some familiarity with that through a relative of mine who is a Delta. But let's talk about the links.
Well, what you said about being socially relevant as an organization particularly hits home with the links. The Links is often considered to be an organization of not only socialites, but elitist socialites. It tends to be a group of older women, and that's kind of the image people have of it. Well, the organization recognized that it kind of had that image and that it was becoming an anachronism. And so in order to survive, the organization knew it would have to change, and change it has. The organization started to recruit younger members. For example, the average age of a Link at one time was probably around 50, and now that has been significantly lowered because, for example, when I came into the organization, they were bringing in people specifically who were under 50 and who came from a variety of backgrounds. So the group that came in with me had everything from a bank president to a nurse to an educator, a dentist, a judge, MBAs. We were a very diverse group of people. The other thing the organization has done is to ensure that all of our members are engaged in service. The organization is about friendship and service. It's an organization of friends, because that's how you become a member of the organization. You're recommended by a friend, and it's friends performing service together. Each member of the organization has to perform 48 hours of service with the Links each year to maintain their membership, and they're able to do that in a number of areas. In our organization, just as Taliva was telling you about their 5-point program, we call them facets. And we also have 5 of them because we've just added a 5th one. And they are national trends, international trends, services to youth, the arts, and our newest one is health and human services. One of our best programs has been under the flag of national trends. And what it is, and what it was, because we've evolved to other things now, is a job preparation program. We worked with the Pacific Garden Mission with homeless women. And we took these homeless women and we started to teach them how to prepare for jobs. Now, for some of them, that meant being able to move out of the shelter, because some of these women actually got jobs. It's important in the links. We look at trying to have transformational programs that truly impact people's lives. And in order to do that, you know, so often with organizations, social service agencies, we go into the community and we tell them what we think they should have, as opposed to finding out what it is they need and can benefit from. So the links have tried to take that approach. We go in, we do a little research, we talk to the people in the community, and we try to find out what's important to them. So in doing that research with Pacific Garden Mission, we learned that what those ladies really needed most were jobs. Well, there's some things that go along with getting a job. For example, you got to have skills. So we went about trying to teach those skills. Interviewing, what to wear, what to say, how to follow up. We brought in hairdressers who donated their time and effort and did the ladies' hair every week. One of our members is a dentist. She did dental work on some of the women who had been victims of domestic abuse so that they'd be more confident in their appearance. And then one of our members is also works with the Illinois Department of Employment Security, and we were able to arrange a job fair where these ladies could go in and use some of the skills that they'd been taught. This program was so excellent that we won a first place national award within our organization for this program. Another program that we have that's been very strong is our arts program. And it's really a mentoring program. We work with girls on the west side of Chicago at the Better Boys Foundation. We've recruited most of those girls from Calhoun Elementary School, and the girls are taught dance and theater, and we do different dance different years. One year we did a kind of a modern kind of dance with the deeply rooted dance theater. The next year we still use deeply rooted, but next year they did ballet, and they've had drama, and this year we are sponsoring student interns over the summer who will be studying with the Deeply Rooted companies, kind of an artist in residence kind of program. So that program continues to evolve and has also been an award-winning program within the organization. We continue to evolve programs in international trends. Probably my favorite program that we've had with that has been working with the Fistula Foundation, which is an organization from Africa. Yes. Yes. They're women who have babies, and after they have them, they have these openings called fistulas, and it causes odors and other things that cause them to be ostracized from their group. They become incontinent. Yes.
And they can't, you know, their bodily fluids just release themselves involuntarily.
Yes. And so we were able to have a fundraiser. Our chapter itself sponsored 3 women for surgery, and we collected enough money to sponsor additional women, and the individual members made contributions as well. So that was one of our favorite, and we continue to work on other programs in that area. Services to youth, probably my favorite program with that has been our Youth Summit, and we did that for several years. And it involved addressing topics that young people from, let's say, 6th or 7th grade on through early high school would need to have addressed. And it was, you know, it was pretty raw. I mean, maybe raw is not a good word, but it was very direct. We had people come in and talk about their sexuality. We talked about drug use. We talked about anger management and the sort of issues that young teens are having to face today. And we brought in people who work in these areas so that they were accustomed to dealing with young people and starting to help them to handle those kinds of issues. Our newest facet is our health and human services facet. And where we have started there is with dental health. We have learned that a large percentage of low-income children don't even own their own toothbrush. And so they come to school, they're often exhibiting symptoms that would indicate a dental problem, and it's impacting their ability to learn. So where we started with that is recently we delivered a training program to the teachers at Calhoun North Elementary School to help them start to recognize symptoms that children might exhibit that indicate they may have a dental problem. And later this week, in fact, we're going to be having a brush-a-thon. And it's kind of a big event where all the children will receive their own toothbrushes. We're going to have a radio station there and a celebrity there. And they'll actually be brushing their teeth and having people walking around helping them learn how to brush their teeth and walking away with a toothbrush. So
one toothbrush?
Well, at least one toothbrush. If we can throw a few more in, you know, we'll do that too. But we just felt it was important for us to address. Oral health is one that often gets overlooked because there's so many other things to look at with children, childhood diabetes and that sort of thing. But we felt that that was important. There are children who are actually dying from dental related problems.
Really?
You know, we had no idea until our member who is a dentist started to educate us about
You're
that.
taking dentists into this brush-a-thon?
Yes, the Colgate dental van will be there and kids will be able to have dental exams as well as it's not just learning how to brush their teeth.
Right.
They'll also be able to have dental exams right there on the spot.
Right.
And find out what kinds of things are going on.
Right.
So we're pretty pleased with some of our programs. And so the fundraiser you mentioned earlier is one way in which we fund those programs. You know, in today's world, though, you'll have to try to have multiple sources of income. So we also try to obtain grants, and we've been successful in obtaining grants for some of our programs, particularly the arts. The awards that I've mentioned were monetary awards, so we were able to apply, and we've been an award-winning chapter 3 years in a row where we've received monetary awards to help with our programs. And so we're pretty pleased about the things that we're doing, and we continue to grow.
You get corporate support?
We get corporate support usually around our fundraiser, and we're working on developing that, getting that support for some of our general kinds of projects too. And I should say that our focus is the west side of Chicago. So we work with children and adults from the west side of Chicago or on the west side of Chicago.
All right. Your focus is where?
The entire Chicagoland area. So we do service projects on the north side, the west side, south side.
And okay, in order to join your organization, 48 hours of community service, what? Do you have a community service component?
We have
requirement?
a community service component once you become a member, but however, before you seek membership, you have to have been affiliated with at least 2 service areas, organizations in the city, that you had done work over time. That's part of the requirement. But we do ask our members, and we expect our members to continue their public services, what they do individually, but what we do collectively as a chapter.
Okay. So how old is Delta Theta Sigma?
Delta Sigma Theta, we will be celebrating 100 years next year, January 13th.
Really, a century old?
Yes.
How was it founded? How did it start?
22 African American college women had a vision for public service, and 100 years ago they came together on Howard's campus in Washington, D.C., Alpha Chapter, and they formed an organization. So now today we have over 250,000 women all over this country.
Is that right?
Right.
And but you all do the same 5.
Yes, we all have the same 5 programmatic thrust committees. It's just that each chapter might have their own individual approach to how they do that. For example, with our Educational Development Committee, we have a college tour, a black college tour every year that we are very proud of. And we take high school students, you can be a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, to go. Most of the time, the children, we have children that go with us maybe 2 years or 3 years, and we go to historically black colleges. So if a parent sends their child starting freshman year, for example, and they go with us through junior year, they will have seen 27 different HBCU schools.
Really?
Because we do a different route each year for that main purpose that some children want to come back a second or third time. So we want to expose them to all of the schools. Some of the schools offer scholarships on the spot. This year that we just returned from the college tour, several students, I think at least 3, received scholarships and received admittance into those schools. So we are very proud. We would always take maybe about 30 students, 1 bus, but for the last 3 years we have taken 2 buses on the HBCU college tour. So we are just so proud of that.
So you have volunteers from your membership that
Yes.
go with and
Yes,
chaperone.
they go as chaperones, and then because we also take males, because our mentoring programs are the girls, so what we do, we ask members of different organizations, like this time we had 2 chaperones from Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity to go, and many of our committee members, they may work we have a few that work for what do I want to say? Probation officers. And so they go, and they ask their friends to go. So we have about 12 chaperones, and they give up their time. They apply for their vacation time, and they give that up because they're so committed to our program.
Well, this is interesting because you're partnering with men. Your sisters were partnering with brothers, and so at your event you talked about the connecting links, and you paid tribute to the husbands and fiancés and the various other males who assist. It at some point you recognize the need to lean on the shield.
Right,
Well,
right.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
You cannot do it alone.
It's difficult. Let's put it this way. It's difficult for someone to be married or affiliated with one of these women who's totally committed to these organizations without having some involvement. And as a rule, they jump right in and help
Okay.
us and support us in all the things that we
Okay,
need
so
to do.
they are honorary deltas or honorary links.
Well, connecting links in the
Connecting
Links
links is about as-
organization and wonderful husbands in the
Okay,
Right,
okay.
in Delta.
So there must be dues that members pay.
Yes.
Aside from community service, they pay dues. They support whatever fundraisers you have by, well, you didn't sell tickets to the art
No.
the art shows.
No, Gallery DST is free admission. If you purchase something, then a portion of that, we may get a very small percentage to come back, but the funds go directly to that artist. Because see,
Okay.
we are trying to support African
Well,
American
what
art.
what for real fundraiser do you have where there's a ticket sold? Don't you have?
Oh yes, we do that.
Okay.
Every year we do something big. This is our year for scholarships. So we are having June 2nd, 2012, we're having our Masquerade Mystere, and that is our big scholarship benefit for this year, to raise money for our scholarship program. We give over $40,000 in scholarships to
Really?
students, and they're renewable scholarships. Some students receive one-time awards. Some just receive book scholarships. We have many of the members in the organization, they donate money for the scholarships. But this year we're selling tickets, and they're $85 each, and it will be at the Zobie Art Center over on West 35th Street. And we are selling tickets now as we speak for that event, because we understand parents want to send their students to school, their children to college, but with the cost, they can't do it alone.
Absolutely
So
not.
the young people have to go out and find scholarships. So we have a large scholarship program that we do, and we're very proud because all of the students that receive the scholarships are from the different communities. It is not self-serving. So our members' children do not get scholarships.
Okay.
So we are just very proud of that.
How
Very,
do
very
you?
proud of that.
How are these recipients selected? Are they nominated by their schools?
No, each year we do a different rotation of schools. This year it's the North Side schools in the city. Each year it's a different rotation. All of the communication goes out to the counselors, to the high schools.
Okay.
And then our members on the scholarship committee, they follow up with the counselors, make sure, did you receive our information? So we have students. So next week, we are interviewing 62 high school students.
So after
for
they're
scholarships.
nominated, then you have an interview
Review
process.
right.
Okay.
And then our panel, our committee, then they decide how many scholarships that we can afford to give, and if it's a renewing scholarship or if it's an initial scholarship. So this year is 62 students, and we had over 100 applications from these schools. So we're just very proud of that, and we know we have to help these young people
Of
because
course you do.
education is key. So that is what we do.
Well, I wish you had some more corporate support so you could give everybody.
But, yeah.
But you know, we're a much smaller organization than the Delta chapter. One of the problems we've encountered, we have a scholarship program as well, but we have a slightly different approach. What we do is we try to provide like spending money for the girls. We pick girls from the west side of Chicago and we send them between $100 and $150. They have a grade incentive. If they're getting higher grades, they're getting more of a stipend. And it's just for whatever they need to spend it on, you know. And we encourage them to not just spend it all on books and bills, but other things that they might need or want while they're in college. But the problem we've been encountering, and we haven't been the only organization that we know of that's encountered it, is getting enough students. And we have not figured out what the problem is, why more students aren't applying for the scholarships, but we're having a hard time with it.
How do they know? I mean,
we have the same approach. We go through school counselors. Some of the school counselors are having problems with the schools we have worked with getting the students to come in. We have a woman. Are there
student organizations in the schools?
There might be.
Could you go directly to the students?
Well, it's been my understanding, and Taliva could tell you a little bit more about that because of her background, that the counselors, that's the place where we have to enter in terms of that sort of thing. Would that be about right? And so we also have had a clothing designer that gives us like a $500 scholarship every year, and it requires an essay and all. We've had trouble getting students to fill that out. So for us, it has raised a flag and said maybe that's an area we need to address. What's causing this? You know, why are we having trouble? And as I said, I know other organizations that have had trouble getting students to apply for scholarships. I don't know if it's because they've forgotten how to take a pen and actually write something on a piece of paper as opposed to using a computer, but it's a little bit disturbing.
What about churches over in the communities that you serve? Could you go through the churches?
We probably could. We're now looking at different alternatives because we most certainly are not going to give up giving scholarships, but
because I know the need is there.
The need is absolutely there.
Yeah.
So, but you know, it was surprising to us that we ran into a situation where we had to work a little harder to get our scholars. But
well, what would make grown women want to do this sort of thing? Want to go out and work this hard? Go out and raise funds and mentor and take on the responsibilities that you take on. Why? You know, I can understand in college, you know, you pledge to a sorority, and you know that's a kind of rite of passage that you go through if you go through it at the right age. I was an old woman when I graduated from college, so I missed that point, that rite of passage. But I understand that. But then when you finally at some point in your life, you know, what keeps you engaged?
You know, I think for me personally, and I'm sure for the members of my organization, Vicki's organization, we have been all blessed.
Okay.
And for me, I feel I should give back. That's what I should do.
Okay.
Because I have been fortunate. You know, I didn't have it hard maybe as some of our young people today. You know, the violence in the streets. When we went to school, there was violence around, but not to this magnitude. So there's always something that catches your eye, and I think this makes you want to do better and want things to be better in your communities. And so we all just want to serve. And I think everybody can do something. We all have different talents, different ideas, but there's something for everybody to do to help. And I just think it is our duty, it's a God-given right that we should give back to the community.
I totally agree. And what about you?
You know, I have a slightly different take on it. I think that as, you know, whether people do it because they're Christians or whether they feel like they need to give back, I think that there are those of us who just have a desire to serve. And sometimes it's been because their relatives served and they watched growing up, they watched their mothers and their aunts and their cousins serving and grew up feeling like that's what you do. You know, regardless of what you call it, and most people do call it giving back. For me, the benefit of belonging to an organization and doing that as opposed to just going somewhere and volunteering as an individual is that you have resources. So if I have a wonderful idea and it's just Vicki, I may or may not be able to implement that idea. If I have a wonderful idea and I take it to the Lakeshore chapter of the Links Incorporated, now I've got 54 people that might be willing to help me with this idea. I may have a little funding that might be willing to help me with this project that I want to do. So the organization, we can do so many things together that we can't do as individuals. And so that has an appeal for me, and I suspect some other members as well. And there's also kind of a camaraderie in being able to do things together, you know, being able to go out, you know, the Links is based on friendship. So it's kind of like me and my friends are going to get together and we're going to go out and try to do something good for somebody else today. And hopefully we'll accomplish that, and hopefully we'll get to feel good about having done that.
Well, you know about the stereotypes. The stereotypes are that women are catty, they can't get along, they can't work together, and black women are mad. You know, they mad black women, they mad at everybody, and so forth and so on. So just the whole idea that there can be women's organizations, and yours, you know, are two of the most prominent ones, that there can be women's organizations of women who have worked together, in your case, for 100 years. You know, how can these stereotypes prevail with so much evidence to the contrary, that women can come together, that they can work together for a common cause, that they see purpose, that they feel obligated, that even though they have families and all kinds of other responsibilities, they have jobs and everything else, but still they feel the necessity to be able to serve in some capacity, that they feel that they are doing something that helps somebody, that benefits somebody. How can, you know, how is it explained that black women in particular cannot be seen as women who are quite capable of being friends and working together and doing good in their communities? Why is it that we have the stereotypical black woman as unwed, uneducated, you know, with illegitimate children and all the negative social factors? What can you do? What do you think you can do? Put up a billboard and say we are here, you know, and then put the name of your organization on it, or just keep doing what you're doing?
Well, one of the things the Links are doing is to market the organization a little bit better. You know, if you want people to know about your organization, you got to tell them about your organization. So we've been looking at ways to do that. That not only helps with the image of black women and the kinds of things we can do together, but it also helps in trying to get funding. If nobody knows what you're doing, nobody's paying you any attention. And so when you walk in the door and say, well, we need $10,000 for this project, they say, who are you? Yeah. So our job is to have them already have the answer to who are you. You know, our job is one that if you hear the name Links, you don't think about the cart people take to the grocery store and get food with. Yeah, and that's been one of the things that we know is a challenge for us in terms of marketing our organization, that association. So it's something that we have to work at. In fact, Taliva was telling me about some things that she was doing.
I think marketing is key, and you have to be able to do that, and you have to rely on your members to help. And we also know that organizations, we have to connect with other organizations to get the job done. Yes, we have a large chapter in the city of Chicago.
How large?
861 on our financial roster.
Okay.
So that brings in dollars to help us implement our programs. But however, in terms of going out in the community, being visible, so we go out in the community to do different projects. So people are more aware of us now, I think. And so then therefore they want to help. Like I said earlier, this was our first time with Gallery DST. We were able to have sponsorship with the large insurance company, State Farm. So we said, oh wow, okay. So our literacy program, we get a grant from the state for that. Because even though we have 861 financial members, that is still not enough money to be able to do all of these programs that we do.
Because you probably service more than 861 clients.
Exactly. Over time, yes. And this year, our Delta Gems, our high school female program, we have 100 girls that we service. And they all attend schools within the Chicagoland area. And we have some parents who bring their children in from the suburbs to participate in our program. And the same with the elementary school girls. So I am saying that to say that we need dollars. So we write grants, and hopefully, different organizations are able to fund us. We had a legal clinic. We received an award of $2,500 to help do that legal clinic. We have a program this year, domestic violence, because that is something that we need to educate our young people, our young girls, our males, our parents, our relatives. So we have been successful in getting grant funding for that. So we're trying to do more. So we also have to have a component of some grant writers that know how to write grants and find the programs. But I also think that we as black women, we know that we must help, and we must help our children.
And we must help our girls.
Exactly. To develop to their potential.
Right.
And so that's just, what we do.
I don't want to add anything to your plate because it seems like it's pretty full, but I happen to know that there are some, with the onset of puberty, you get a lot of hormones, you got a whole lot of stuff going on, the chemistry is raging and what have you. And I see a lot of confusion sometimes at that age in various young women. Probably true of young men, but I don't guess I know any of them, up close and personal. But the thing is, I just see a need for somebody to be able to identify and help the young women who have potential but who don't live up to it because of just there's something, I think, in part is that just what's happening in their development. They're just physiologically, there's a whole lot going on becoming a woman. There's a lot of stuff. And then of course, some girls handle it better than others, and they remain on the honor roll, and they are, they have good attendance at school, and they don't get into trouble, and they graduate, and they are eligible to apply for scholarships. But some girls fall between the cracks. Some girls begin to drift away from us. And they are girls who were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when they went into high school, but somewhere just before, I think right about the sophomore year, just as they're about to get to that junior year or maybe into that junior year, something happens. And I just don't know, we need an incubator or something, so we can catch these girls before they fall through the cracks. Because we lose a lot of young girls. A lot of your young girls become mothers and everything else because nobody is hanging on to them. They're drifting away and nobody's hanging on to them. I don't know what to say about this. I know there's one program in the city called Project Butterfly where they take girls to camp every summer and they do some stuff during the year and what have you. And they get some of these girls, and they're able to get them into a social situation where they can sort of, steady them. But it concerns me that we lose a lot of girls because they don't make it through puberty. They get sidetracked, I don't know, drugs probably sometimes boys, sometimes their physiology, and that's troublesome because the whole idea is to help the girls, even those girls who don't excel. And most of the time we find the children who excel because they stand out. The teachers know who they are and the parents brag about them, but these kids who are quietly disappearing into the wallpaper, kind of skip us. I don't know what to say about it, but I just hope that, you'll reflect on that, and maybe there'll be some place for maybe a high school dropout who wants to. Olive Harvey College has the Olive Harvey Middle College. And sometimes kids who are, first of all, they have to do very poorly in their school, and they have to be old enough not to have to go to school, the age at which they can leave, legally. But the thing is, they interview them, and they also have to have potential. They have to be these kids who, are really great students who are just not applying themselves, who have lost interest and so forth. And they have a great success story with some of those children. But again, there aren't enough. They're not, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So I know that you probably do more than you can do. Do you sometimes amaze yourself at what you're able to do with your resources?
Well, I'd say sometimes projects come out more successful than we could have hoped that they would. We try to kind of get at the problem you're talking about through mentoring.
Okay.
So the girls that I mentioned that are in our arts program, they're learning to dance, they're learning theater, but they're also being mentored. Because week after week, they're coming in and we're able to see these girls. And we're able to talk to these girls. And last year, as part of their program, we allowed them to develop their own play. In their own, they developed a series of skits with costumes, and the plays were very revealing. The kinds of topics they discussed, the things that were normal to them, started to come out and started to help us understand their needs a little bit more, and the kinds of things that they were experiencing. Because, like Taliva said earlier, they may not have been what I experienced as a 12-year-old girl, but they started to help us. So in that way, we're starting to get at those kinds of things, at least in a small way.
I think you're right about that, because I think that when you can engage these girls, lack of interest, apathy doesn't help anybody. So when you can get them involved in theater, where they have an outlet, they can express some stuff. When they can engage themselves and develop skills and bring out their creative juices and so forth, that's got to be good. That component has got to be good.
And I'll tell you something else that often it surprises and impresses the girls. I have, as the president, I've spoken to them every year, and I always tell them that some of our members were little girls on the West Side just like them. And they're always surprised by that, because their perception of us is very
that you
different.
were just privileged girls.
Yes. And so when we start talking about, and some of the members start telling stories about things that may have happened in their youth, struggling to get through college, or, or like I said, being a little girl on the West Side and growing up and learning different things, they sit there with their eyes, like this, but I think it starts to help them see where they can go from where they are. So we try to get at it in small ways.
Anybody ever being able to testify that they were a little girl on the West Side in the projects?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what people's housing situations were, but we've had several who were little girls on the West Side for sure.
Right. So they will identify with you, of course.
Yes.
If you have something in common with them, because looking down your nose at people doesn't really do much to help them.
No.
Even though you bubbling over and you want to give everything, but still in all you doing it from a pedestal. So I'm just loving the idea that there are people in this world who do the kind of work that you do, and that I'm happy to have the opportunity to showcase these two organizations, because I know that I always thought of it as a social club myself. Until I began to see, you do some pretty good marketing when you have people come to the things that you have, and then you are able, like at the Links event, the Mardi Gras, you talked about in your remarks to the audience, you talked about the things that the Links were doing, which kind of surprised me. And then just recently on the Bronzeville.com newsletter, there's a whole long spread on the Links and the things, the international Links and the things that the Links are doing. So yeah, marketing is very important so that people don't see you as simply snobs who are privileged, who are, who are doing missionary work, and, who are civilizing savages. You must never allow that image of you to prevail over the real people who are behind these organizations. How long have you been president of the chapter?
I'm completing my 4th year.
Really?
Yes, from 2008 to this present time.
How long can you be president?
You can do 2 consecutive terms, and each term is 2 years.
So, so you're not going to be the president after a while?
No, June 30th.
Okay.
I will turn over
to
the next incoming president.
Well, I used to when I belonged to organizations, I used to always say I didn't want to be the president because I didn't want to have all that work to do, and I just be the secretary or somebody, in the organization. And then I found out that wherever you are in the organization, you can work every bit as hard if you're a hard worker.
And that is true.
So you might as well be the president. So how long have you been the president?
Actually, the same.
4 years.
4 years. I'm completing my 4 years.
You're completing your 4 years.
Yes, we'll be putting our new officers in May.
Okay.
And same thing, 2 terms of 2 years each.
Okay.
Yes. So
how has it been? How's that office been? How's that office served you?
It has been a great ride. It really has. I have a great team, a great executive board, my co-chairs that shared the vision of where we wanted to take the chapter these last 4 years, and then many of the members, they bought into my mantra. My personal mantra is teamwork makes the dream work.
All right.
I cannot do it by myself, so I need a team, and so they were able to join in, and we got the job done. We've increased our membership. We've increased our programs. We have economic development program. One thing that we've done, we've partnered with Ladder Up this year. So we did free tax services to individuals that came. So we were at different sites over the city of Chicago, on the west side, on the south side. So we were proud of that. Giving back to the community, helping those that could not necessarily afford to go pay to have their taxes done. You were able to come to Ladder Up and Delta Sigma Theta. And we had members that gave of their time to do that.
And how long is it going to be before you're back in your building?
We are going back in our building Friday, April 20th.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I am so happy. Yes,
All
we have
right.
been out of our building for 1.5 years now.
All right.
Yes, for expansion.
So your programs are coming back home now?
Yeah, some of them will be up and running full capacity in September when we come back, because with this being April and May, we're kind of finishing at the different locations, the sites that we are, but in September we'll be fully up and running.
Okay,
so
well, congratulations.
So I hope you'll get by to see us one day.
I'd love to see you. I can't imagine what you've done to the building.
You will have to really come and see. It is just awesome. So
bet.
Gallery DST next year will be back
in your building.
Yes, it'll be back in our building next year.
Okay,
right.
Where's the Lynx headquarters?
Well, our national headquarters is in Washington, D.C. We don't own property here. There are a number of chapters in the area, and each of them kind of does their own thing in terms of where they meet and how they handle that, but we don't have any stationary property that we would use for everybody.
So where's the filing cabinet?
Well, generally the filing cabinet is at the home of the president.
Okay.
Although we do, one of the things that's important to us is to kind of capture the history of the organization, both
How old is the
nationally and
Lynx?
locally. The Lynx was founded in 1946.
Okay.
So we celebrated our 65th anniversary.
Okay, so
with
y'all
a
senior
big
citizens.
gala. Yes. Yes, we are now senior citizens, and we've been very pleased with the accomplishments over the years. And as Taliva said, we continue to evolve as well, and continue to try to strengthen our service to the community, find better ways to serve the community, and find ways to impact the community long term.
Okay. So do you have honorary members, or does everybody have to come in and meet the membership qualifications and do all the stuff?
We do have honorary members. We have members who are brought in without necessarily having to go through that entire process. Members who are singled out for their special contributions to the world kind of thing. Of course, I can't, not one is coming to my mind right now, but yes, we absolutely do have those members who are selected based upon their kind of service to the world or community that we invite into our organization and bring in.
And your organization?
Yes, we have honorary members as well, and they're generally trailblazers in their areas. And just last week, we lost one of our honorary members, Reverend Addie Wyatt.
Oh, yes.
Co-founder of Vernon Park Church of God.
Yes.
She was honorary member.
That was a powerful woman if you had her in your organization. Yes, indeed. So what are the membership qualifications then?
For the local level?
I don't know. Whatever they are.
Well, you have to
people are only going to see it who are local, because this is a Chicago-based channel.
You have to have a college degree to seek membership from a 4-year institution. You have to have a grade point average of 2.75. And most of young ladies come in at the collegiate level, but however, you can come in at the alumni level, and the grade point is still important. But if you have been out of school over 10 years, then the grade level does not apply at that point. Then you have to be recommended by a financial member of Delta Sigma Theta, not necessarily the local chapter, but a financial member of the organization.
In the organization?
Yes.
Now, you know, you're the alumni president.
Yes.
So there's a president of the collegiate level?
Yes. Okay. And the citywide chapter here is Lambda chapter, where I was initiated. When I attended college.
So do you all work together? Or
yes, we do some programs together. They function on their own, but we also work with them as well, because it's a growing process. And so different programs, they work with us.
So they're working within the colleges and universities, and you're working in the community. I'm trying to see how you divide up the work.
No, what they do, they have their program at the collegiate level. And Lambda is a citywide chapter. So all of the colleges and universities in the Chicago metropolitan area, those young ladies will come through Lambda chapter, and they implement their programs. But however, there are times when we come together and we'll do a program together. You know, like for example, we have gyms. So they might also have a mentoring program as well, and they will run their own program. You know, but the collegiates, they do have advisors, and some of our members serve as their advisors. You know, and they help them out. But when we, for example, each year we go to Washington, D.C. for our Delta Days at the nation's capital. Well, we assist them in getting there. You know, for example, if they want to go, and if they say, you know what, Madam President, we need some extra funding. Will the alumni chapter help? Yes, we will do that. And we will help them, and they will go to the conference with us. So, and that's all over, because alumni chapters, wherever we are, whether it's in the Chicago, whether it's in the suburbs, we just try to help one another.
And your organization doesn't have any little people in the colleges and universities?
we do have our scholars. Our scholars are in college. And generally, each of our scholars we keep for the entire 4 years they're in college. So they receive their monthly stipend for the entire 4 years that they're in college. And we've selected students who are going away to school because we felt like those were the ones who needed the greatest support.
What's the membership qualifications?
Well, the Links is very different than other organizations. It's actually, you have to be invited into the organization. The organization is founded on friendship. It's an organization formed by friends where you bring in your friends to continue in this tradition of service. The idea being that we work well with our friends and we know our friends very well. So if I'm going to recommend you for membership, I know that maybe not all of my friends would be suitable for that organization. They may not like the organization. They may not like the requirements of the organization. They may not be willing to make that contribution that you talked about earlier. Not everyone feels the same way about it. And so what I have to do is look, let's say if I were inviting Taliva in, I'd have to look at her and say, well, Taliva's wonderful, and she's worked with Delta Sigma Theta, and she does this, and she'll be an asset to our organization, and she's my friend. So I would recommend her for membership, and we would go from there.
And Taliva would politely decline because her plate is too full.
No.
But I'm sure there's a lot of overlapping like that. I'm sure that there are probably people who belong to both organizations.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
you're like-minded.
Yes.
Even
Right.
if you don't know each other,
You are.
you
And-
headed
and
in the
that is
same
so
direction.
Very true.
It is.
Yeah, a lot of members in my chapter belong to Links.
Yes.
And a lot of
And they're in the different chapters of Links, so we do. And I'm sure Vicki can say the same.
Yes, and I am a member of Taliva's
member of my
organization.
right, right.
So there is a lot of overlap for the reason that you mentioned.
Right.
We are like-minded people. The Links is a much smaller organization. By contrast, we only have 12,000 members nationally and 274 chapters. So we're a little bit smaller. We have a maximum capacity for each of our chapters. And it allows
Really?
us, yes, we have a maximum of 60 per chapter. And it
Why
allows
is
us,
that?
well, the idea was to keep the group small because it's an organization of friends, and it allows us to focus in a different way. You know, I'm sure Taliva will tell you that the challenges she faces managing a group of 800 plus is a little bit different from my challenges with 60, even though they're all kind of high-powered women. So our emphasis is just a little bit different, and that would be the difference between the two organizations.
Okay, talk about trying to handle 800 high-powered women.
It's a challenge. It is a challenge. But however, they come together because they know public service is what we do, and that is our core. And because we're all like-minded, you know, they will come out at different times, and you know, we have seasons, you know, the seasons of life. You know, at certain times, some of our members, you know, are engaged with their families. They have young children, so they cannot be as active as they would be if their children were grown. You know, and usually when the children go off to college, you know, oh, I have more time, so I have more time to devote it. So they come and go at different times. But we're fortunate enough that we do have that financial manpower from them to
Well,
help
I
do what
notice
we
you
have to
say
do.
financial members. That means these are people who are current in their dues.
Yes.
What do you do if you have people who are delinquent? I mean, certainly they're not meeting the terms of the membership if they're not supporting the organization.
But however, there might be a time, for example, if you become unemployed.
Okay.
But that does not mean you cannot function as a Delta.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you cannot give service.
Okay.
It might mean that you are not
Can you
financial.
vote?
You will not have voting privileges at that particular time.
Okay.
But you're committed to Delta Sigma Theta, so you're committed to service.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Do you have that sort of thing
Well,
too?
actually, unlike Delta, where you're a member for life, and
Okay.
it's a matter whether you're active or not active, the Links is an organization where you need to maintain your membership.
Okay.
Every year you have to do those 48 hours of service. You have to attend a certain number of meetings. And in our organization, we feel that it's important that members understand what's going on in the organization. So once in every 5-year period, you are required to attend an assembly or a conference.
And they just making us stop because I had more stuff to ask.
Okay.
But I'm just very happy that I've had you to come and give a face to these organizations and also to clarify whatever misgivings people or misunderstandings people may have about women's organizations that serve. And I
Thank you.
appreciate you for coming, taking time. I know you're busy, both of you, but I appreciate you for coming.